everyone, Drizzerey here, and welcome to another time-lapse video. Sorry about last week. I kind of got caught up in a lot of things, and there was a bit of an issue, so yeah, things happen, life, all that jazz. And anywho, I wonder if you noticed that there might be a quality change. I got a new microphone for my birthday, and it is glorious. I absolutely love this thing. So because I got this new mic and I really love how it sounds and all that stuff, I was thinking that maybe I would start a podcast where I read original unpublished stories and fanfics. Namely, these stories would be ones that I really enjoy personally. I got this idea because I've been finding that I wish that I could listen to my favorite fanfics and unpublished stories that would not be available on Audible. But it's like, I can't listen to them, and I can't read them while I'm at work, but I really want to listen to them. So, well, why don't I just read them and put them on a podcast or something? I do have a Podbean account, so that's probably where I'll be posting them. And I also thought this would be a great idea because I really want to, relearn how to do voices and kind of mimic people and stuff. Because I used to be really good at that. That was something that I used to do a lot, and it's like I was really good at it. But when you don't use it, you lose it. And now I can't even hit high notes anymore that I used to be able to. And I'm not talking about like, this was something I did as a child. I mean, I did do this as a child, but it's like, this was something that in my 20s I was good at. And I have lost it. In my mid-20s is about the time when I stopped doing it. And when I tried to pick it back up again, it's like, well, I can't even do the thing anymore. So anyway, that's kind of something that I'm thinking about doing soon. I'll probably have more information down on my Discord. The links to that will be down in the description below. So if you want to check out any updates on when I start doing that podcast, well, that's the best place to find the updates. Next month, I'm going to get my Patreon back going. So yeah, as far as video uploads go, I will be trying to keep it to every week. However, until I get better at managing myself, it might not be every week, but I will definitely do my best to do one every week. And I think that's it for my updates, so I'm gonna start talking about this picture, and then we'll move on to our creative topic thing. So anyway, this picture I originally made, I think, a little over a year ago. It was a picture I made because of an Art Snacks box, and I made with the Art Snack supplies. And I didn't really love how it came out. Like, I loved the drawing, but I hated the finished piece. So I was like, okay, I'm going to redo this thing. The reason I didn't like how it turned out was because I thought I was getting a red and a blue on the paints that I got, because it was a scarlet and an ultramarine. And so I was under the impression that I was going to get a blue and a red. Turns out that red is an orange. And orange and blue are opposites on the color wheel. And wouldn't you know it, when you combine the opposite colors in the color wheel and paint, it dulls them considerably. So when I thought I was going to get a nice pretty purple and maybe a nice richy kind of purpley brown, I ended up with dull colors. It was so disappointing. There was nothing wrong with the paints. I liked the paints. They were very nice. It was just, I had planned that picture very differently, and it was not gonna happen. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna redo this on the computer. And so not long after, I basically made some notes on what I wanted to change, what I wanted to make better, and I put the sketch in my Clip Studio Paint, and I got a kind of idea of how it was going to be drawn. Basically, I made some slight changes based on my notes that I took, and then I didn't touch it for a year. I literally left that thing alone, and I don't remember why exactly. But I finally got around to finishing it, but I knew I wanted it to be a nice video. It was going to be a lengthier video because I was going to spend more time on it since she has a lot of accessories. I had some great ideas, and this kind of leans into what I want to talk about, which I have kind of touched on this idea before, and I especially touched on it on my Blood Elves video about putting too much pressure on yourself. However, this is a little bit different. Whereas in the Blood Elves video, I'm talking about, you are basically putting yourself down, you're being entirely too negative, and it's just being damaging to you. Whereas what I want to talk about, it's not necessarily damaging, there's not necessarily anything wrong with it, but it's something to be aware of because it could lead into damaging ideas. So this kind of also leads into me catching up with my Patreon rewards. So due to me not knowing myself and how much I can do in a month, I kept putting too much on my plate to do every month for my Patreon rewards. But because I said I was gonna do them, I'm like, okay, I will just catch up and I will do them again, and I will, I'll do less stuff on my Patreon for the next month. I'm gonna adjust. Well, that also leads into some bad months, some really, really bad months. You know how you have a bad day or maybe a bad week? Well, I had a series of unfortunate bad months and mental bad months and sick, and just things keep happening. And that ended up getting Patreon rewards piled up on me. And so when I decided, okay, I'm gonna take some months off from Patreon so I can catch up. And then now I know what to do for the next time I do rewards. We're going to change it so that everything is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit better. And then I find myself like, okay, I could totally get this stuff done I've done more, right? I used to do way more while I'm doing full time. I got this. Yeah. Because I wasn't taking into account this part of my executive dysfunction. No, I don't got this. I'm not going to say I don't got this, but I don't got this as well as I thought I did. I'm almost done with my Patreon rewards. I'm catching up. I am going to open up Patreon next month, and I do plan on getting this stuff finished. That being said, I am now more aware of my problem. So what I'm talking about is when you have a project or a thing that you're working on and it's for something, it's more important to you, or you've been paid to do it. Basically, it's not one of those, I'm just doing this for funsies, I'm not thinking about it, compare this picture to my merfolk picture. Pick a merfolk picture. Most of my merfolk pictures I do in like an hour or maybe sometimes less. Or like those kitty pictures, the Pride kitty pictures I did, those didn't take much time at all. And so I don't think about them, I just do them, they're fun, and they come out pretty good for the most part. I love most of those pieces, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with them. However, when we're talking about stuff that's important to me, like my original story pictures, or my original story. Like, this even works with writing too. So when it comes to something that it's like, okay, this is something that people are paying to see, this needs to be nicer, this needs to be nicer quality. And I end up stopping myself because, well, this is work. When you have to make a better quality picture and I don't have to think about it, and then I think to myself, well, shouldn't I be able to pump this out as quickly as I do my merfolk picture? It's like, no, you shouldn't. And again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do a nicer quality picture. And there's nothing wrong with expecting that the things that are important to you or the pictures that you are paid to do, for them to be nicer. There is nothing wrong with this. It's just something that you need to keep in mind when you are doing these things, to not compare these pictures to I'm just doing this for fun. I didn't even think about it. I didn't really plan it. I just made it. Because those pictures will always be stuff that you just did. You didn't plan it. You didn't do any of that stuff. Whereas like my original story pictures, I'm planning these out. I took like 2 to 3 days just to, conceptualize an outfit for a character. Because I'm not a fashion designer. That's not something I do on a regular basis. And when I used to do this, because I used to always make pictures which inspired the story, which the story then later inspired more pictures, which then later inspired more of me to write more of the story, and I had this cycle going. And I've been wanting to get that going again, but it's a little hard when I'm telling myself, okay, this needs to be nicer. And then I'm comparing, this process to when I used to do it. When I used to do it, I only used a pencil and a paper for the pictures. Like, sometimes there'd be colored pencil, but almost always, the thing that I used the most, 9 times out of 10, it was a pencil drawing. And if it wasn't finished, it was okay because it was a pretty decent sketch. And I had this weird thing where I didn't have a good way to understand what was my sketches versus what was my finished things. To me, my finished things were the things that needed to be shaded, yada yada. I didn't have a very good understanding of practice versus fun versus fully finished illustrations. But now I do. Now I'm better at this, and I have a bit more in-depth process, which does give me nicer images. Like, I'm not having a problem with my images. This hasn't gotten to a point where it's damaging, but the thing is, it can. And I'm glad I had my little aha moment when I realized, oh, I'm putting pressure on myself to make a better picture, and that's why this is taking longer than when I'm just like, okay, I could totally just bust this thing out in a couple hours, if that. It's like, yeah, you have to actually sit down and do it. But it's like, I don't do it because it's work and I'm tired. Like, and that is a mood for how things are. And it's like, I can only imagine how stressful this has to be for some people who either don't have their full-time job available, don't have a full-time job, or their creative thing is their full-time job. And it's like, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of work. And I don't know how you fight burnout at that point, because it's like, how do you fight burnout? Whereas, like, I work at the county and I have a stable job that I don't have to be laid off. I don't have to be furloughed. I'm still working because we're first responders. Therefore, we are not in trouble of having to be put on hold because of everything is going on right now. So I have that. I have that security. And so the artwork, as much as it pains me to say this, because I have done this professionally, I have the ability to do this professionally, but this is technically a hobby for me. I can still make money off of it. I can still, treat it like a job, but it's like, I already have a full-time job. So treating this like a job hurts me because it puts too much pressure on me to do something that I technically don't need to do, but it's something I want to do. And again, this is just me talking about something that I realized of myself, and maybe if you are going through this, maybe you understand it too, that when you put so much pressure on yourself to do this stuff, it's gonna put a block in front of you. Because when you always associate art as work, and you're always working, you're probably not gonna want to do the work. You're gonna need a break. Your mind is gonna need a break because creativity is hard work. And like I said, these pictures that I have been, it's been slowing me down, that I'm trying to catch up on, it's like, these take time, they take planning, and I'm doing a lot of things that I actually don't do on a regular basis. I don't do fashion, therefore anytime that I'm trying to design an iconic piece of clothing that fits this character and it doesn't look like, my old pictures, Because here's the thing, I've never actually drawn these characters with the clothing that I really, really like from them until now. I have 2 of them done, and I'm working on the 3rd, which I really love what I'm coming up with so far. But it's like, this takes time. This takes a lot of time. This takes a lot of energy, because I'm doing something I'm not, familiar with, I'm not comfortable with, which if I just go with something that I'm familiar and comfortable with, like the merfolk, the kitties, the random witch character, that all is stuff that is like my comfort food. I can just whip that out, no problem. So don't compare what you do know, what you're good at, with stuff that you're trying to figure out. And this was also another folly. Like, I am expecting myself to do these pictures as quickly as I do my comfort stuff. And I put so many eggs in my basket on things that I don't actually know how to do all that well anymore. Comics, for instance. When I was a kid, I did comics, but I also didn't really care about my process all that much. I just went for it. And yeah, that works, and that's good practice. But now it's like I have a better understanding on how to do these things. I just don't have a lot of practice in doing them. Therefore, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to get these things done, to do them. So like my comics, the pictures that I'm doing for my Patreon, these things just are going to take me longer, and I need to, account for that. And I need to be okay with that, and I need to not tell myself that it's like, okay, I should be able to just bust them out like I do my comfort stuff. Because no, it's all work. Don't beat yourself up about it. And I'm glad I thought of this. I had this aha moment, like I said, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I had that aha moment. I caught myself, and I'm not going to beat myself up for it, and I have a better understanding. Therefore, I can move forward. I didn't understand what was stopping me. Now I do. Anyway, and yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And we're at the end of the video, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button. Thank you very much. If you have any questions or comments, please lay them on me. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to support me, please check out my Discord, my Patreon, or my Ko-fi. Or if you'd like to support me in other ways, you could check out my social media. Links will all be down in the description below. And if you want to see more, subscribe, and I promise you will see more. And I'll catch you in the next video. Later!